Great morning. Thank you for tuning in. Today is July 27th, and this is your Monday Market Update. Some clinicians choose healthcare, others are called to it. This week's Monday Market Update is one of the most powerful conversations we've had. I had the pleasure of sitting down with one of our very own clinicians, Demetria Rutledge, and her story completely changed how I think about patient care, root cause medicine, and what it truly means to serve others. So let's get into it. Well, welcome, Demetria, officially to the show. And first, I just have to express my gratitude for you because you are an exceptional human, an exceptional clinician, and you are, well, let me say this. You and I have been working together for a little while now, and I've watched you navigate some challenging situations with just absolute professionalism that really inspires me, and I admire you. And I know I've told you that before, but I got to say it on air, on record, public, because it truly does inspire me. Who you are and the grit, the resilience, and how much you really just care about your patients and the work that you do. And I know we're going to talk more about that, obviously. But before we get into that, locums and in your business is, I know I said this before we hit record, is I really just want you to share your story, right, and how you became the clinician you are today. But thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. You're so sweet. You always bless me with your kind words, and I've actually honestly never met a recruiter like you. It's like really hard to call you with a negative without leading with the positive, because you just have that certain, it's just that certain aura about you that you always push positivity, and I truly appreciate that. So I like it, Justin.
Well, thank you. Well, it's my pleasure. And yeah, I mean, I do. It's a choice it literally is a choice. And I will always choose positivity. I will choose optimism, even when things are hard, even in the face of adversity. There's always something to learn or something to gain from challenging situations. So, but yeah, so tell us your story. How did you become the clinician you are today? And, what originally drew you into to nursing?
Well, honestly, I've been a nurse all my life, you know. So I grew up, when I was growing up, my brother and my sister, who are no longer with us, they had sickle cell disease. And it's a very painful disease. They get these crises and things of that nature. And so my mom had to juggle a lot of that, being a mom, being a wife, taking care of two sick children in and out of the hospital. So when the nurses would come to the house, they would like, well, okay, you want to, I said, I want to learn how to do it. So by the time I was 12 years old, I knew how to mix Desferal medication. I knew how to manage their crises. I knew how to even access their ports. So by the time I was 12, I could perform a sterile field better than some of the other nurses out here in this community. And something inside of me was like, that's where you're supposed to be. That's who you are. Not being religious or anything like that, but that's what the universe called me to be, a caregiver, a nurturer. And it showed me from really at a young age. So I just kept building on that and building on that and building on that until I just became the nurse that I am today. Honestly, Justin, it's like I didn't choose caregiving. It's like the caregiving role chose me, and that's why I got my career.
I love that. It chose you, and it sounds like those experiences shaped the provider that you are today.
Yes, absolutely. It's like sometimes when you have people that won't listen to you, like I remember, I'll give you an example. I remember being a kid and my mom kept saying, my brother was having some limping. He was having some limping, but when he went to the doctor, it's kind of like taking your car to the mechanic. It's not making that noise now. Well, he
Yeah.
ended up having a stroke, but my mom
Oh wow.
noticed the symptoms before it even happened. And no one listened until everything got catastrophic. And even with myself too, I've been misdiagnosed as a younger person, placed into a facility, people thinking that I'm an anorexic when I actually had stage 3 colon cancer. I told you about that. And it's like I don't want to be that provider that don't listen. I want to be that provider that wants to know why. What's going on with you? Tell me your story. What happened 6 months before these symptoms started to show up? What medications are you taking? Is anything contraindicated? And it's just all about listening and trying to do what's the right thing for people. And I think that my whole life built me on that point where I am today with that.
Yeah. Well, and one thing you said there, and I know you've said this before, like that a lot of and you've gone through it with your own experience yourself and in your family, but you said before that many patients are told their labs are quote unquote normal, but they still don't feel well. And so like what does practicing, like that type of root cause medicine actually mean to you, especially having gone through it personally and with your family?
It's understanding the why for me. Why is it happening? Why did it start? Why did or certain providers choose certain treatments? And sometimes, for example, some of the people I just had a okay, I'm going to share something with you.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so when you get your lab work, and if you look at your labs and we open up software like Epic or Cerner, we can see a trend. Okay. So if someone's telling me that they're tired, and I'm only seeing a complete blood count, and I can see your white blood cell count continues to increase, your red blood cells are trending decrease, and you can see where other people will say, oh, we're going to continue to monitor. It's slightly below average. We'll continue to monitor. Well, there's something called with the red blood cells, there's something called that tell us what the color is, the size, the shape of these cells. Well, if they're trending down as well, something is wrong. It's not always an iron deficiency. So they'll tell a female or someone, oh, take some iron, take some elemental iron and vitamin C, take some folic acid. And you never see the iron levels, you never see the binding capacity, you never see the ferritin levels. And so that's what makes me a different provider, because I take that and I'm like, okay, how long have you started feeling tired? Well, I felt tired ever since I had my child. I just never recovered it. They said it was pregnancy hormones. Well, no, we're getting ready to do some deep dive. We're going to find out what this is. So ordering like a hemoglobin test and ordering the binding capacities and ordering the ferritin levels to start ruling things out. I found so much thalassemia. I have found blood disorders, genetic markers that were never ever treated for some of these people. And some
Yeah.
of these people are underfunded. You work in some of these places that I go to as a locum. You're not going into the places that are lifestyles that are rich and famous. Some
Yeah.
of these people are
Yeah.
in the lower part of the communities.
Yeah.
They have disparities. They're underfunded. They have their label is non-compliant because they don't understand their disease process and how it affects their body. It only takes a few minutes. It only takes a few minutes. And that's why I choose to do the root cause. And I do it for all of my patients. If you come in to see me, you're going to get a root cause analysis whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Well, no, and two things I want to just to touch on that you said there was one is like the underserved population. That is where you're going into the underserved communities, the underserved population, really where those patients wouldn't be getting care anywhere else if you weren't there or in those environments that you're going into, which is just obviously incredible work that you do and a lot of locums providers do in those environments. One thing I want to say real quick on a personal note, because you made me think of this, not me personally, but about being misdiagnosed and specifically the iron deficiency is my wife literally went through that for years. The punchline is this: they ultimately found out she had Crohn's disease, but it took forever, and it started with the whole iron deficiency, and she's just so tired, so exhausted, and it was years until they figured it out. And that really hit home for me when you were talking about that.
Can I say something about that? Just a lot of things that our body needs, you'd be surprised how much your stomach acids control things, like your white blood cells. It controls the way you absorb your medications. Well, what if you have somebody that have a reflux and we're neutralizing their stomach acids? What's going on? Why are my red blood cells being chewed up? And you're thinking that chewed up meaning that they're decreasing.
Okay.
That's happening to you, right? And my stomach acids are low. Well, let's look at a GI tract issue. What's happening to that my GI tract is not allowing me to absorb these medicines? What's going on? See, it just because you shared that right there, that just burns my gizzards, Justin, because if
Yeah.
someone would have just taken the time not to just cast it off as an iron deficiency.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And it was. I'll say this: it was a brutal journey to have to go through over the course of years. But obviously, things are in a much better spot now, of course, thankfully. But yeah, well, so that I think that's a good tie into like, I mean, is that part of? So you're obviously an entrepreneur, and we can see your brand behind you. So tell me a little bit more about that, and just that you built IHM Telehealth, and what inspired you to build something of your own, and then like what gap are you trying to solve with what you built?
What made me build IHM Telehealth is because of what happened to me, and I share it by me being misdiagnosed. No one listened. Over and over, I was dismissed, dismissed, dismissed. You have a mental health issue. I'm not being, like gender issues or anything like that, but a lot of women get misdiagnosed with mental health diseases. They told me I was anorexic.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I said, I'm not anorexic. I said, my stomach hurts. And they
Yeah.
couldn't find anything because you're ordering bargain basement testing because it makes you look better with the insurance company. I'm telling you the truth, some true
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. 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 No,
And so
I,
you're ordering these bargain basement tests because you want to save money so your bonus is bigger. I'm not trying to push fingers, but my opinion that you want your bonus to be bigger at the end of the year because you've done so well with cost
yeah.
containment.
Yeah.
And I said, what if I make something to where people can come in and say, hey, Demetria, I'm having these issues. Look at my labs. Can you review this for me? Look at my diagnostic testing. Well, what if there was an incidental finding that was supposed to be looked at? I can't tell you how many times I found that, on hospital follow ups with incidental findings. And no one ordered the test because some providers are only looking at the impression at the bottom. The top of that will tell you, oh, here's an incidental finding on the kidney, here's an incidental finding on the colon. Well, I want to be the person to look at that and say, it doesn't have to be me that takes care of you. Let me just make you up a list of questions to ask your doctor, some recommendations. Give me permission to call your doctor. And so that's why I made IHM Telehealth, because I want to make a difference. It's not that I want to be the provider. I want to help you have the best experience and guide you through this healthcare maze with someone that truly, truly wants to be the one that helps pull you out of that rut and get you better. And that's
Yeah.
that's why I made it.
Yeah, and I can say this for you because I know you're very humble, and I know this firsthand that you do exactly that. You absolutely crush it with your patient care and your quality scores and just the patients that you impact daily. You're literally doing exactly what you set out to do. Like that's like undeniable. Just got to take that chance to acknowledge you right now, live on there. So big round of applause, big round of applause. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about locum, since that's how we connected, right? And so obviously so how long have you been? I mean, I know, but just to share with the audience, how long have you been working as a locums provider? Obviously, you've done both, right? You've worked staff, permanent settings. You've been doing locums now for a while, and then what would you say, like, in kind of thinking through the lens, if like another clinician's listening or watching to this, like what's like the biggest misconception people have about being a locums provider in your experience?
Okay. I think the biggest misconception about being a locum provider is considering them as just temporary providers, because
Yeah.
we do invest in patients and in our practice. So basically, it's really like the opposite of that, right? So we have to earn trust with patients and staff quickly. You have to walk into unfamiliar clinics. You have to meet an entire new team. You have to learn workflows and provide safe, compassionate care. So we have to be able to adapt. We have to be clinically strong, emotionally intelligent. And I feel that another misconception is that we're just there for because of the monies about
Mhm.
different things that we have. And oh, I can't tell you. Let me tell you this honestly. People say,
Yeah.
"Oh, they let you rent that type of car," or they're paying you all of this money to come in and help us. But I would work extra hard if they gave me that money, right? So sometimes you get that kind of pushback on staff and they kind of like dump on you a little bit. But as
Yeah.
long as you are respectful, you don't allow yourself to be pushed over. I feel like you have a great experience. Locums have allowed me to be more than I've ever imagined myself to be able to be. It's opened up a
Yeah.
whole new world for me. I've met some of the best doctors and surgeons and people who really dig down deep and try to help these patients that are there because we're serving most of the time an underserved population, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So it's like being able to provide safe care and just do it every 12, 3 months to 6 months or what have you, going into different places and being able to go in and shine. I think locums
Yeah.
are diamonds. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, spot on in everything you said, and it's like, but it's like the first thing you led with is like the, the temporary or the, the stopgap, like that is a definitely a misunderstanding, and it's also like from like if I think of like all the clinicians that have never done locums, that there's so much uncertainty around the temporary misconception, and it's the exact opposite to everything you said in terms of just the patients and relationships you're building with patients in the team that you're working with, but it's also you know this is like you can end up staying at the same place for almost as long as you like. You can just keep extending. So it's like, well, what happens after 3 months is up or 6 months? Well, there's not, unless you just aren't a good culture fit, or or you don't like it there, you're gonna have the option to extend wherever you go. Like it truly
Yes,
there's a
that is very,
go,
very
yeah.
true. I have been offered, I've extended one place for a whole year.
See, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not uncommon at all. And then yeah, there's so many, the pay is a part of it, but yeah, you're getting paid a premium because like let's all, I'll do it, because I can. I was like, let's acknowledge the sacrifices you're making. You're traveling literally across the country into unknown territory and into these environments of these underserved communities, which can be very challenging in navigating those. And I've admired watching you over the past year, and your ability to walk into these completely new environments and earn the trust of your patients, earn the trust of your staff, be offered extensions, and get I know your patients have literally acknowledged you for one of my favorite stories is that one where you just listened. Listening's been a kind of a common theme in this conversation, but like you just took the time to listen to your patient, and it just wildly impacted his day. If I remember, it was a guy, right?
Oh yeah, I got it. It
Yeah,
was a guy. I got this
yeah, yeah,
huge basket. And
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
so funny, Dustin, because another physician at that time had got a delivery from the same place for administration. His basket was about that big, very small. And my basket came in, I had to hold it like this. It was so huge. And they were like, "Oh, administration wanted to give you, to celebrate you because of your scores, and you can't get bonus money because you're a locum, and we want to give you this." And I looked at it, I was like, "This is from my patient," and they were like, "What?" I said, "Yep." I was like, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it, and he was just happy that I listened to him. That's
Yeah.
all. Just listen to
And
him over my lunch break. That was it.
that is so wild, like to think that it just took a little bit of listening, and and that you can have that big of an impact. Well, so before we, one other thing I just think about, like if like a clinician is listening to this, or is watching this, and they're hesitant to pursue locums, or they're just they've never done it, right? Like, what is one thing? I mean, you've already given a lot of good advice or touched on a lot of things about the overall locums experience, but like, what's one thing that comes to mind? Like, if you could be like, hey, this is what I would tell myself before I ever took my first locums assignment, good or bad. But like, what would that one thing be that comes to mind right now for the clinicians that are on the fence of pursuing locums?
Okay, I would have to get with Nike and just say, just do it.
Do it.
Let's do it. Seriously. Listen, I tell you what, I started doing locum because one of
Yeah.
my patients at the job where I worked at, I always got to tell a story, but it's just, things fall into my lap, just happenstance. Just someone walks into your life for a certain time and certain reason.
Yeah.
And so she was like, You don't have a work life balance. You don't have a work life balance. Own your own business and do something different. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to do that? And she says, work all over the world, work all over the United States and explore and work until you experience all of the states, all of them. And I said, I don't know. And it was almost like someone was listening because it was a couple of weeks later, I started getting all these alerts and stuff from different locum agencies. And I said, let me find out about this. So the first thing I would tell you is to just do it. The second thing I would tell you is to think about your work life balance. You cannot find a job where you're a staff provider and you can take a month off if you wanted to. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is set your schedule up. That's it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you already have the knowledge. You already have the compassion. You already have everything, all the tools that you need inside of you. The only thing you got to do is just say yes and find an awesome recruiter that believes in gratitude. And I know exactly someone for someone that exactly who he is. Exactly.
I'm honored and I'm humbled. Well, no, and one thing I have to add to that, what you're saying about just like, well, the word that comes to mind is autonomy, right? And in the locums experience, there is so much autonomy and flexibility, and about that ties into what you're talking about, the work-life balance is like, that is you have the autonomy to decide how long you're working for. Do I want to do a 3-month contract? Do I want to do a year-long contract? Do I want to extend or do I not? Do I want to take 2 weeks off? Do I want to take 4 weeks off? I had a clinician, she's taking 3 months off before she does her next contract, right? Like that's like, there is so much flexibility and autonomy to live that lifestyle if that's what you want, that what you said, you cannot get that in staff, right? Like that's just not impossible. You submit RTO and you might have to wait 6 months till it gets approved, right? And there's just so much flexibility and autonomy with the locums lifestyle. There's trade-offs, right? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Let me just tell you this. When you said that, it pierced my little heart because when I worked staff, I had been planning this vacation because I had never been out of the country before. So I actually had an opportunity to go out of the country. I said, I'm not going to take that computer with me. I left my work phone. I'm not going to be looking at any of my messages. And when I came back to work, I had so much paperwork. I had so many messages, uncalled labs it was unreal. It took me day and night. I had to come home and do pajama time to get through all of it.
Wow.
When you work locum assignments, you don't have that. You don't have that. You can take 3 months off, refresh yourself, truly refresh yourself. Do something that you love to do. Start over on a new contract and you come in with nothing. Clean slate. You can build it however you want to build it.
Yep.
Isn't that
Yep.
something?
It is. Yes, it is. It's amazing, and I think there's so much opportunity for clinicians to live the lifestyle they want, and locums can be an exceptional vehicle for that lifestyle. So, well, how can actually one last thing before we wrap up here is, so anyone that watches or listens to this, how can they connect with you if like, hey, they they want some more insights on their locum experience or on your business in telehealth, where I know obviously you're on social media, but where's the best places for people to look you up and connect with you out there in the digital world?
Okay. Well, my first thing I would like to say is that you can find me on YouTube at Your Community NP. You can always, I have a lot of locum videos on that. You can email me if you like at info at ihmtelehealth.com, and I'll answer all of your questions, no problem. And that's social media. I have some social media accounts too, Instagram, things like that. But the best way would be with emailing me or looking at going on my YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. Awesome. And we'll link that channel out too, and make sure. So, well, in closing, gratitude, you said it, but it's just, I mean, I cannot, Demetria, listen, I cannot express enough gratitude for you and of course for coming on the show today. And we've been talking about doing this for a little while now, but so that of course number one, but just so much gratitude for the way that you care for your patients, every single day, and how you conduct your business and who you are, again, as a person first and foremost, and of course sharing your story. And I'll say this, otherwise I'll keep rambling here, but it has truly been an honor working for you, and I know everyone that's going to watch or listen to this is going to learn something from your journey. So just thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Justin. I truly appreciate you. You are a different kind of guy, and just all around, you can always tell when someone is an all around good guy. And if anyone out there who's listening to this that wants to become a locum, I 100% recommend Justin. Give him a call, find him out wherever he is, at Earl Staffing, and get your life.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm humbled. I'm honored, but awesome. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see everybody next time around, and thank you again, Demetria.